What you are about to watch is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute any type of advice. Always question the validity of what you see and what you hear. Viewer discretion is advised.
Today's message is a message of love and compassion. I had a conversation with a few good friends who have gone through the struggle of having to go from loving fathers and partners to having to justify and defend their position in court. If you're going through this, have gone through this, or know someone who's going through this and want to understand their position, this is the place for you. When going through a criminal accusation, which I don't wish it upon anyone, and it is changing also, and not for the best. But it used to be that you went in and you couldn't even be prosecuted if you didn't have an attorney. That part still remains. This is why court-appointed attorneys are issued to defendants who cannot afford one. The presumption behind the court process in criminal law is that you're innocent until proven guilty. The prosecutor has to prove the jury or the judge that you're guilty beyond reasonable doubt. In most instances, a prosecutor will not even attempt to prosecute if he or she doesn't believe that the prosecution stands a chance. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and this does not constitute any type of legal or even professional advice. It's just an attempt to get you to think and ask questions. This is how one becomes literate. Now, if you're sued personally, which is known as a civil lawsuit, you don't need an attorney, but the court still treats you with respect and wants to see the case before iconically dropping the book on you or deciding that the case is stupid and drop it altogether. However, for those men who make the poor judgment of pairing with a destructive woman, things do not go well in court. Court immediately treats you like you are the scum of the earth. Things are very different if you lawyer up and you have a well-reputable lawyer ready to show up guns blazing and calling out every piece of bullshit that is going on in your case. However, we all know that that's not how it usually goes. What usually happens is that the dad gets accused of being an irresponsible, poor character, and non-deserving to see the children. Courts have been notorious for taking the testimony of the former partner at face value, but that has been changing and fast. The notion that the mother is an innocent person who is using the OF app to help her children in such a tough world is no longer being viewed as such a benign idea. Judges are starting to become more inclined to the position of men when it comes to child visitations. I say visitations because that's what it's called. You're reduced to nothing more than a visitor, a part-time dad who is viewed as the ultimate failure for not being able to keep the family together, even though he may just have left for the preservation of his sanity. The relationship failed, she was not happy, it must have been his fault. This narrative continues on and on until the father gains more custody, full custody, or the child is old enough to be on his or her own. However, there's so much that can and does happen in between all these years that must transpire before he gets to spend more time with his children. There have been hardworking men who lose their homes that have been fully paid for, men who have been accused of abuse that they didn't commit, and men who have been falsely accused of domestic violence. The world doesn't care because when it comes to choosing sides, they choose the mother over the father any day. The father immediately becomes the hateful and irresponsible maggot in the eyes of everyone. He can complain all day long and deal with the consequences where men have given up in their future and even in life. But that is not the solution. The solution is to recognize and realize what happened and what led us as men to choose wrong. What attracted us to be with broken woman who is now seeking for revenge against the men that they claim to love. We must own our defects and weaknesses that led us to choosing a broken person, because at the end of the day, the match was made. We would not have been paired with such person if it wasn't a match. We're not here to be accommodated or lied to. We choose to first have the understanding, awareness, and recognition of what went wrong and why we made that choice. Then we must learn to rechannel the anger and resentment in a creative manner. Then we must learn to identify the red flags that we ignored in order to be able to pair with that person. Then we must reestablish our boundaries and deal breakers while acknowledging that not everyone is an evil person seeking to destroy us. But we reserve the right to identify those who are harmful individuals and not allow them to enter our lives. And finally, we must adapt to a new world without resentment, but with a sense of awareness, without being hyper-vigilant. There are several levels of damage that can be done to a man. Not all are the same. Some we can recover from, while others may haunt us for the rest of our lives. A man who separates and faces a hard court process because the woman doesn't want him to see his kids is not the same as a man who has been accused of domestic violence and has been arrested. Both are facing very different levels of difficulty in this regard. Let's say that a man named Marcus, hardworking construction project manager making $140,000 a year, working long hours, he texts his wife when he gets to work early, and both enjoy the rest of the time off. His children are 12 and 16 now. Life has been very typical for Marcus until one day he does not text his wife and decides to surprise her so he can take her to a special music show that he got on a Groupon. When he gets home, he sees a car that he has never seen in his driveway. It is a plumbing business, so he's a bit confused because he knows they are not having any plumbing issues. But apparently his wife does now, as he goes into the house and hears his wife working on the pipes and surprises his wife, but not in the way that he was anticipating. He gets angry, but doesn't lose his composure entirely. The plumber runs out and tells his wife that he will send her the bill, and she makes a comment that her husband will pay. Marcus tells her that soon there will be no husband. He makes a harlot reference to her, and she becomes angry and demands respect as she's putting her clothes on. Marcus tells her that she doesn't know the meaning of the word respect, and that he will tell the people at church what happened, and she demands the respect of a real lady but does not behave like one. Marcus says that he will proceed with the divorce as she threatens to take half of his soul. He does not care at the moment. He shares with the mutual friends what happened, and she becomes indignant that not many of them speak to her since what happened. As they go to court, the judge tells him that it was unnecessary to share the information of her actions with the world. She tries to play the victim and blame the husband for her promiscuous behavior. The judge doesn't bite into it and just rolls his eyes at her. Even as favorable as the divorce was looking, she settles for no alimony in exchange for the house to which he abides, since he'd rather move far away from her and just buy another house. He just wants to have no ties to her at all. He takes the losses. She keeps the house, but ends up selling it to sell the world and celebrate her divorce. She tried to get with the plumber, but he didn't want her since he himself was married, and she was just a fling apprenticing on pipework. Marcus was left with only weekend visits, which he was fine given that in 2 and 6 years he will be off the hook from child support and his kids will move in with him. He understands that other men have it much worse than he does, and some end up on the hook for up to 18 years of child support and a lifetime of alimony. He's thankful that his situation was not worse than what it could have been. He could have also ended up having to pay her alimony for her to continue to find another man, another pipework apprenticeship. He is thankful he doesn't have to be attached to that slime ball that he had married. He's also thankful that he's out of that sham called marriage, because she was starting to turn ugly anyway, and may have decided to divorce her after her youngest will turn 18. But with all jokes aside, finding the funny side to the situation and even laughing here and there helped him examine the past to see where he failed. He realized marriage was a big scam, but he also didn't like the whole MGTOW movement because although it was informative, the complaining was as annoying as feminism, and he did not want to be in such a low vibration. He knew resentment was a poison, so he rather resorted to wisdom by boycotting marriage entirely and see it as the one-sided contract that it was. He didn't even want a prenup. Why pay for something if you don't need it? Why learn how to fight lions when you don't have to fight lions at all? He also learned and accepted that all relationships can fail at any time and not to be attached to anyone as if they were his world. He accepted that the twin flame and soulmate delusion were for idiots. He meant it in a benign manner and made himself laugh. He did not do much wrong here other than trusting the wrong person and believing in the marriage fairy tale, but that was to be corrected. He found a group of guy friends who he could spend some time with and share his experience. One of them even dodged a bullet because he was engaged and then talked to a lawyer about marriage being a contract. He called off the engagement and his ex-fiancée lost her mind, so he upgraded to a more reasonable woman. Marcus' journey and craziness continued 2 years after because he told his kids why they were not together, how she took the house and sold it, and the terror that she put him through. She took Marcus to court, and he was downgraded from seeing one of his kids to only once a month and video calls. He told her right in front of the judge that it was okay because one was already 18 and moving with him, and the other one would as well in 4 more years, so it wasn't over. The judge responded with, "I understand," which in this case is code for "no one cares." He had a boy and a girl. The boy disliked his mom for being such a 304 and betraying his dad, so he had no problem moving with him and helping him save on child support. The girl hated her mom and wanted to be nothing like her. She knew her dad was a loving man, and she was determined to one day be with a kind man like her dad and steer away from her mom. After 4 difficult years passed, Marcus' daughter moved with Marcus, and she was going to start a program with her brother to go into the aviation field without a debt and even get the rest of their bachelor's paid for. Marcus was so proud of his children, now turning into adults, 18 and 22. Marcus' ex-wife tried to make peace with them because she knew no more child support was paid and she was feeling lonely and out of luck. But Marcus was not having it. He did not hate her, but he did not want any type of friendship with her at all. He was with someone else who was okay with a relationship without marriage. Marcus and his son were buying a house together and doing some remodeling. He told his son that it would be his house one day and that he just asked that he didn't make the same mistakes that he did. Marcus son smiled and told him, "I get it, Dad. Marriage is for idiots. I won't go that route." Marcus was trying to convince his son to never marry, but was proud of him for making that choice after observing what happened in their lives. This story is not intended to convince you how pointless it is to get married, but to rather realize it for the contract that it is. This is not to tell you never to find a partner, but to rather observe who you pair up with. If you meet your girlfriend at a gentleman's club, working as the main event, or at a bar drunk out of her life, there is an aspect of you that's very childish and poorly developed. Find it, sit with it, and learn to identify it as the potential failure that it is. Find out why that notion of you exists. Remember that almost everything that you have been told about yourself and the world, you were told by someone outside of your own understanding, learning, and conclusion, so it could potentially be a lie. If you are told that the party fun girls are the best, recall who told you that. If you cannot recall with exactitude, let your instinct recall for you. Whatever your memory tells you is how you are interpreting it. If you look for a partner in a wolf's den, you will find a wolf as a partner. If you're used to letting others mistreat you, ask why. Where did the acceptance of that pattern of mistreatment came from? If you end up choosing partners who cheat and are liars, find out what about them you found attractive and what they found attractive about you. You must trace the behavior patterns so you can undo all the wrong that has been done, correct all the errors in your thinking, and align with what you want in life to who you need to adapt in order to find that. Remember that resentment, anger, and need for revenge will lead you nowhere. Learn from your mistakes, even if sitting with the idea of them feels terrible and you feel like crying. Cry endlessly if you have to, so you can find rest in your spirit to shift from the suffering that you have encountered in your path. I understand that not everyone is in Marcus' situation of such short-term child support, but not everyone is willing to give up a house and start over either. Some of you will be on child support for so much longer, and you may struggle with crazy ex who may actually manage to poison the thought process of your children. All I can tell you is that time will give you the ending that you need and the closure that you deserve. Time does not stand still. Even a 20-year prison sentence comes to an end eventually. What I can tell you is that if you're open to it, you will learn and your words will have such a strong meaning to those younger men who need our testimonies and our stories. Many are already making that move successfully, and what is being done to you will not go unpaid. Do not seek for revenge, but rather let God do that for you. Remember that revenge belongs to God. Dedicate yourself to rebuild your life, earn the skills to become a more successful man, find other guys to spend time with, doing things like jiu-jitsu, boxing, and finding common ground on learning and desire for skills development. Even if you already have a great job and earn a great income, what happened to you tells you that there is room to learn more and become a better you, a more aware you who can learn from this terrible experience. If you are here, you are in the right place. Pick up a few interesting books that can help you understand life a bit better. I recommend the 3 volumes of The Way of the Human by Stephen Walensky, and anything you can get a hold of by Don Miguel Ruiz. Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zeland is also a very good read. If you need a better job, this is a very good time to learn new skills like the tech field or in accounting and finance, because it will help you understand technology and your finances much better. Self-education is not a waste of time. As long as you are doing it to enrich your life, prepare yourself to enter the workforce in a more successful way and understand the world of economics in a much better way. What happened to you can either be a deep lesson that you won't allow yourself to go through, or it can be an ongoing nightmare. At the end of the day, it is on you to choose what route to take. People let themselves into the spiral thought process of struggle and suffering. Some will make the mistake to continue entering crummy relationships, but I will advise against entering another relationship until you have reestablished your boundaries, understand what went wrong, readapt to your updated view of the world, and earn a higher level of awareness. You can find a group of people to support you. It is better. You can easily find it on Meetup, but I would be careful because there are many guys there who have not experienced what you have and are very indoctrinated and oblivious to the solutions to these issues. I would say to be wary of anything that contradicts or tells you a very different story other than what I have shared with you today. Freedom 320 is a very good place to start because it will teach you how to find personal freedom when it comes to financial, career, and relationship opportunities. If you want some spiritual guidance, the Spiritual Reconciliation Professional course and the Tarot Reading Levels 1 through 3 are very interesting. Not many guys are into tarot, but women are. So when you meet a better partner, she will be dazzled at your tarot reading skills. If you're looking more for a behavioral science approach, the Functional Achievement Facilitation will help you set the habits and behaviors to get yourself back up. We also have a book to understand your human emotions. We as men are told not to be emotional, but emotions are no weaknesses. They are intuitions, and learning about them can make you stronger. The reason men struggle so much after divorce or breakup is because they're always told not to be emotional. I'm not telling you to cry to everyone you meet, but understand your emotions can help you overcoming that sense of loss faster. We also have a book on how to rechannel that resentment and anger, and a book that distracts you a bit on the subject of forums. We also have a free book on the things that we need to become aware in the world. We are here to help you, and although we make no promises or guarantee anything because we can push anyone into taking any action, I can tell you that we already have a track of success with people that have shared it within our community. The world does get better, and the sun is here to shine on you as much as it is on everyone else. You deserve a chance, and the mistakes that you have made can gear you into the right direction. Do not give up. This is the opportunity of your life, the time where you can rise once again, a well-deserved chance. Take this as your calling. May God be with you.